so the only reason why I decided to do it, like focus on education, is because I lost a lot of money.
Okay, wow, that sounds like a lot.
Of money. So I brought a lot of friends into the space as well, and we lost a lot of money together.
Okay. Did anyone blame you for that?
Not really.
Oh wow, you're very good friends.
I said one thing: only invest what you're willing to lose.
Hello?
The Blockcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Blockcast. And today with me I have Tammy Tay and Zeppy. Did I pronounce that right?
Zeppy,
okay,
absolutely.
Zeppy. So Tammy is from a project called TT Treasures, and Zeppy is from Unfiltered. I guess just to start off, maybe you guys can give me a little bit more of an introduction to yourselves and your projects.
Okay, so for myself, I am a Web2 influencer. I hate that word.
Wait, you hate which word? Web2 or influencer? Okay.
But I guess that's the most people will understand, when they are in Web2. And when I entered Web3, it is right away up, there was a stigma that anyone who's in Web2 entering Web3 would be doing a cash grab and all. So I started this project to actually prove them wrong, and I focused a lot on education. So teaching all those like normies.
You mean me? Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
And teaching people more about crypto, NFTs, the basics. And that's what my whole community is about. And the project was really just for fun, because the community has been hanging out for many months, since I think September. And then we started the project, I think, in March or April. I can't remember. Things move fast.
March or April last year?
This year.
Oh wow.
Just
okay.
for fun.
Okay.
And that's the project. But my focus is really on the education, which is why I'm working very closely with Unfiltered.
Ah, what a nice segue. So yes.
Perfect segue.
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Zeppy. I've been in the space probably for coming up to a year now, but I sort of as a private investor, sort of getting my feet wet with the NFT space, and seriously started to work in the space probably end of last year, so probably around like sort of November time. And I started by like a lot of people, like I think very much like to what you said, there is a perception that the space is fraught with a lot of pitfalls, and it's pretty dangerous. Like, everyone's just cash grabbing and just taking advantage of people. So when you enter the space, when I entered the space, I was losing money left, right, and center, and once I found, like, it motivated me to find my footing a lot more. Like, so I think that's how most people stumble their way through the NFT space, and they get their footing, they kind of push through, and they finally make a couple of wins. They find a couple of really good projects and a couple of really good communities that they love to be a part of, and at that point, I really wanted to start educating and helping people sort of avoid some of those like rug pulls, and we can kind of talk a lot more about that as we go along, for sure, as to kind of the different terms. But that I started doing reports and analysis on different projects, sort of breaking them down and kind of breaking down the way that I see them in a way that I wish I would have had access to when I was starting out. So I focused on really making sure that it was like educational and detailed in terms of the breakdowns, and that's I think that's kind of how I got a lot of traction in the space. I kind of worked with a lot of different communities, helping them set up their what we call alpha sections of their communities, and that's why I met my co-founder Mapiko as well in one of the other in one of the projects that we were working on, and we had a very aligned vision to help educate the space and help make the space sort of feel less ruggy in that sense, to kind of change that perception, because one of the things that boggles my mind is we keep talking to our friends about how great the NFT space is, but then we're also like, oh yeah, you're going to lose a bunch of money when you come in though, and you're probably, and that's not great. That's not a fantastic way to grow the space. Like, it's still going to grow, but with like the adoption is going to be slowed down massively. And so one of the things that we really want to change is making sure that actually we can provide good, so when we built Unfiltered, we wanted to provide good quality content that's engaging, but that also helps you stay up to date, kind of informed in the space, but also learn and kind of grow and develop using the content that we're providing and using the education that we're providing, so that you know how to navigate the space.
Okay. So speaking about, you talked about how a lot of people come in for the first time, and everyone sort of at some point loses some money as part of your tuition fees to sort of learn about the space, right? Did you lose any money at the beginning of like you said you started the project in March?
Yeah, but I was in the space in I think August.
Okay, so what was that like sort of experience coming into the space? What was that like?
Okay, so the only reason why I decided to do it, like focus on education, is because I lost a lot of money.
Okay, wow, that sounds like a lot.
of money. So I brought a lot of friends into the space as well, and we lost a lot of money together.
Okay.
That
Did anyone blame you for that?
Not really.
Oh wow, you have very good
I
friends.
said one thing: only invest what you're willing to lose.
Okay.
And
okay.
I guess, yeah. So when they lost money, I'm like, it's okay, me too.
Oh yeah, so like when you first came to the space, was it crypto, was it NFT? You said you lost a lot of money, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is a lot of money? A lot of money is a very subjective term. I mean, a lot of money to some people could be $500. It could be
It depends on your
$50 to some people, right?
Depends
Depends on your
circumstance.
circumstances,
Always,
right?
yeah.
So
It was a lot. Like, we're talking 5 figures.
5 figures. Okay, okay. I think
Yes.
that's not subjective anymore. Then there's a lot of money to most people, especially if you're looking at it from a Sing dollar currency kind of perspective.
Yes. So the thing is, I made money through crypto,
Okay.
but I lost it all through NFTs.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
So there were a bunch of things that made me lose money. Firstly, it was the scams. I was very unaware of like the Discord links. Clicking certain links would get your wallet wiped out, would get it hacked.
Shit, did that happen to you?
Yeah, and I also bought into like fake projects. Didn't know much about the space, so I used the OpenSea search bar like Google
Okay.
to search projects.
Yeah.
And
Oh, and then they have all those like duplicate
yes
type projects, right?
And back then I didn't really know. I didn't have anyone to teach me.
Okay.
So it was all trial and error. So
Shit.
I felt the space was quite early and there weren't any like educators in the space. At that point of time I didn't
Yeah.
really have anyone. So yes, when I started the community to ask questions, and there were people who like myself were new and also wanted to learn more. And thank goodness the space has really, really nice people. So they came in and then they taught us how to do certain things. And I felt that, this is really helpful for myself. And those people who are entering the space would really need this information. So then we decided to, really focus on teaching the newer people in Singapore about this.
Okay.
So they won't lose that much money.
Okay, so you said you started a community. Was this before you started your project, or was it part of the project?
It was before I started a project. I
Okay.
didn't really want a project, but the community said that, let's try to do something together.
Okay.
And then let's just mint something so we can put something into a community wallet and then decide what we want to do with the wallet.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was way before we decided to do a project.
I see.
So it was just a free for all community,
Yeah.
like-minded people in the space, whether you're an expert, whether you're a newbie.
Yeah.
It's just people, getting together who are keen on Web3 stuff.
So like Tammy said, she came into the space through crypto, right? That was what she came. Did you come in from a crypto perspective? Like, did you start there or?
I started in crypto as well, but I didn't spend that long in crypto.
Okay.
I spent a little bit of time, and here's the thing. The thing with crypto for me was it was just like kind of regular investments, but way more volatile, way more kind of extreme. But it was just this kind of it was just looking at different numbers, right? And yeah, you were able to sort of make a lot of money if you knew what you were doing. I was like relatively interested, but every time I kind of tried to get into it, I would get into it a little bit, maybe make a few plays, but nothing major. I think what really got me into NFTs was because actually I had looked at them back in even the sort of late, I would say 2020 or maybe early 2020, and I completely dismissed them at first because I was like, JPEGs that cost money, that and people were like, what? Why can't I just right click save? Why should I pay for this?
Yeah.
And so I dismissed them outright. But then I sort of rediscovered them in 2021 and sort of through the fact that NFTs inherently are storytelling mediums. You know, they are so much more engaging than crypto. You look at a coin, it's just Ethereum, or it's just Bitcoin. You know, your Bitcoin looks the same as my Bitcoin, right? But like NFTs, they're visual, they have a narrative. And I've been someone who's like, I mean, for many years, I've been a dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
So I play lots and lots of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a storyteller. I love writing stories.
Do you know what Dungeons and Dragons is?
Oh my god, no! It's super nerdy. I'm not going to even go into it. But like,
so watch Stranger Things.
Yes, I do.
You watch Stranger Things?
Yeah.
That's the game that they play. Dungeons and Dragons, the fantasy
game where they roll
one.
their dice and we're playing. So I love narrating and I love storytelling, right? And I think it's actually inherent to human nature to storytell. And I think that's why NFTs blow up so much. I think it's because out of any other financial investment vehicle in this world, tell me another one that is as inherently visual and fun as NFTs, right? Because there are some, I think, in the more conventional space, like trainers. People invest in their trainers, right? Or watches. You know, they all have narrative actually to them. And
for our non-British viewers, that means sneakers.
Sorry,
so only the Brits say trainers.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry. Yeah, sneakers.
Or as Malaysians and Singaporeans say, sports shoes.
Sports shoes.
Sorry.
You're right. And but that for me was the cool thing about NFTs, and then realizing that actually that they're inherently utility backed, or like that their value stems from the utility that they provide, or the access to communities that they provide, right? That opened up like a world of possibilities for me, and then from that day I just wanted to be more involved with them.
Okay, interesting that you would say that. Like, what kind of utilities did you first notice that sort of piqued your interest?
So the idea that an NFT, a non-fungible token, can be used as a sort of a proof of ownership, or a proof of non-fungible way backed by the blockchain to prove that it's a digital asset, right? It opens up so many possibilities, all the way from the fact that, like, one of the things that I first noticed, I think everyone was starting to talk about it in the UK. You know how the football culture or soccer culture is like really, really big in the UK, and it's like a religion there.
So could we say football here too?
Yeah, football. Perfect. I'm not sure. I'm just like now covering all my bases.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
But you realize that, like, at the time, a lot of clubs were exploring the idea of using NFTs as a pass for their season holders and ticket holders, and that made a lot of sense to me all of a sudden, because, like, okay, but what advantage does that give? And the idea is that when you have an NFT, you can the idea is that you can prove who owns it without needing to lock down that person's identity to their physical identity, so to speak, their like their doxed identity, or I guess the identity of, like, hey, this is like
the government identity.
John Smith, exactly. Yeah, like this is their passport, etc. Like you can actually retain privacy whilst proving ownership, and that has so many implications in what you can do with it, as well as the fact that you have digital freedom over the ownership of that item. So if you when you buy something in a video game, for instance, is another example, like most video games don't allow you to cash that out in any way, shape or form, right? You're buying into the ecosystem and you're locked in. Well, with NFTs, it's different because it's in your wallet and you have control over that NFT. You can sell it on the open market. You can set its price. It's yours. It's a true asset. Whereas digital assets before that, because we couldn't prove and that they couldn't be replicated, you had this problem where only centralized powers would control their assets. So a video game would control their assets and lock you into their ecosystem. So they would only be relevant in their ecosystem. Okay. Whereas NFTs can be relevant outside of their ecosystem.
Okay. So I think that's a fair point. But going back to the sorry, I just want to ask him this question because right on top of my head right now. Going back to the thing about digital identity and government identity, right? Say for example, you buy a season pass to
Manchester United,
Arsenal, whatever, right?
Sure.
Let's say you buy a season pass. How do you prove that that's you if that's not your government identity when you go and use that pass?
Right. So all you have to prove is that you hold the NFT because you own the wallet and the wallet that holds the NFT. So you have it in your digital wallet. Yeah. And that digital wallet is your Web3 identity. Okay. Right. So all I have to prove is when I'm checking, when I'm using that NFT, is that wallet belongs to me. If I have access to that wallet and I can what you do is you sign a transaction with that wallet. You prove that you own the asset inside that wallet. That wallet doesn't have to connect back to your identity, to your government identity, right? Like if you're going to Manchester United, why would they need to know who you are? Like all they need to know is that you've paid for that ticket or that you hold the ticket, right?
So ideally, in an ideal world, if I was selling season passes, I would want every individual to buy their own season pass, right? Therefore, I can then maximize my profits, obviously, because it's all a business as well, right?
Right, of course.
Right?
But you have a limited amount of them, right?
Correct.
Well.
So if I sold season pass to, let's say you, and it's in your digital wallet, and we decide, we're going to share the password to this digital wallet.
Right.
I can then also use that, right?
Yeah.
If I go for, and obviously that's not in the best interest of Manchester United as a club,
Of course,
in terms of, how profitable they can be, and, right? Like,
So there is that aspect to it, but the whole thing is actually not about even sharing a wallet. I could just transfer you the pass if you want to go use it, and me and you are really good friends. I could share you the pass, you could share me the pass. It's interesting because it actually there's a flip side to this, which is if you lock down the transferability of season tickets, they might not be as coveted as if you actually gave people the rights over what they choose to do with that ticket, because a ticket is only going to let you into one game at a time. So it's only you or your friend that's going to go to whichever game, right? True. And so in that regard, you're actually giving them, like, you can give them the right to do whatever they want with that asset because they paid for it. It's more consumer friendly, and it's a lot more liberating to the individual, because if I look at that season ticket, I could now look at it as an investment, actually, right? Because I'm like, you know what, Manchester United is probably going to have some really good games this year, so I will buy the ticket. I might go to the first few games, and if I just don't have time to go to the other few games, I'll just sell it to someone else, right? And I have the freedom to do that because it's my digital asset. So that is one of the biggest things that NFTs also enable, in that that perfect sort of that perfect sort of way of being able to move around digital assets whilst verifying that me and you at the same time don't have the same ticket. That's the important bit.
Okay.
Right? And before the blockchain, that wasn't possible. Not in a decentralized way, at least.
So consequently, talking about ownership of NFTs and being able to own an NFT, which then leads to some sort of utility, right? From your project's perspective, like what was your initial thinking when you started this project?
For my own project?
Yeah, for your own project.
Firstly, community,
okay.
like, sharing alphas, educating people.
Yeah.
And after that, we have to think about the actual utility. So for myself, I focus a lot on in real life events. We are definitely going to expand into, I'm working on other projects as well. Because I really believe that, even though we are Web3, but we do want to have more in real life events. And Web3 people don't have the connections that I do because I'm a Web2 person.
Okay.
So I've been around and I have connections, right? So I'm utilizing these connections to plan events for these Web3 people. And I see this as a utility.
Okay.
I see a lot more communities coming up with this utility as well.
Okay.
Because everyone is seeing this need to actually meet their community members to really build a real community. So we talk about community all the time, but everyone's on Discord just chatting and everything, and there's even bots now, right? So you really want to know your community members. So now founders all want to start planning events.
Okay.
So one thing about my communities, we already saw this coming. Like back then when I started, and I told them that one of the utility would be parties, would be fitness sessions. When we go in a group, we get cheaper rates, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
It's also a good marketing thing for businesses in Singapore. Yeah. Especially when they have a grand opening, they need a group of people, right? We just bring our community members there and we work out the discount with these businesses. So this is a utility. And it's something that I think I guess because I'm Singaporean, and Singaporeans, we want to have we want to see something. I get it, it's non-fungible token and everything, but that's our Web3 thing, Okay. I still think there needs to be some physical interaction,
real world application.
Yes, and people actually then would really feel like they are part of a community. So that for me would be a utility that I offer, my community offers, my project offers, and a lot of projects that offer this, I would feel that the founders genuine, because they bother with all these events and getting to build a real community.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you talk about community a lot. Your Twitter handle is TTTDAO.
Yeah.
Right. So how does that then fit into what you're trying to do?
Okay, so because back then because TTT is actually myself. Like
Yeah,
TT.
I figured TT Treasures is Tammy Tay Treasures. Am I right to assume that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like because that was, I mean, we really didn't want a project, so we didn't really think so much on like the name, the branding was just like okay, because our Discord was TTT, and then we figured like okay, just put TTT DAO as like the handle, and DAO just means like in simpler words like a company.
Okay.
So then it's just TTT DAO.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talking about the DAO, right? I mean, obviously it stands for, if you guys don't know, a DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, right? So we talk about decentralization as a DAO. How decentralized a DAO really is? Like,
How long is a piece of rope? Is the kind of question with the DAOs.
okay, yeah. So it depends, right?
It really depends.
Right?
It's
But
like
the ultimate goal is for it to be totally decentralized, right?
in a perfect world
Yeah.
and a perfect implementation of a DAO. It's like you said, it's a decentralized autonomous organization. So it is supposed to be voted by its holders, by the people that are part of the DAO and have the voting power within the DAO. Those are the people that hold the governance of the DAO. So they are able to make proposals, like table proposals, make the votes, and so the idea is that what they're voting on is also the stuff that they propose themselves. So the direction of where the DAO is moving as a company is actually initiated by the holders and by the voters, and then the voters are voting on the implementation of it, or rather, sorry, on the proposal. The implementation, however, that's a little bit more debatable, because the implementation might not be carried out by the individual members of that DAO, depending on how big the DAO is. It might be carried out by the leadership of the DAO, and likewise, leadership. There has to be some level of leadership that has to implement a change, right? That leadership could also be tabled and voted for by the DAO.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
So it's like you vote for the people that essentially are in charge of the implementation, and you vote for the things that are going to be implemented themselves, and that's the idea. The high level of idea of a DAO is like everything is being voted on, proposed, implemented, because the community should, like, the idea behind it, the philosophical idea behind it is that community is building its direction. It's heading its direction forward. They know what's best for that community because they're a part of it.
Utopian democracy.
It's a
utopian democracy.
Exactly,
in a sense, right?
So it's like the purest form of a democracy, really.
Okay. And why did you decide to start a DAO? So, like, talking about having started the DAO, have there been implementations of the DAO for you?
Yes.
Okay. You want to tell me a little bit about that? I mean,
Okay, so back then, right, when we wanted the DAO, we really wanted to do something that, as a community, we wanted to see how strong the alphas we were receiving were like. And then, whatever that they feel that, we should purchase, what we should do with the money inside, they would just propose, and then we'll just call for a vote. And then they would decide,
okay,
if we should do this, we should do that. And I just felt that, like, creating this and letting the community decide what they wanted to do was better. Even creating the DAO wasn't really entirely like my idea. The utility side was my idea. So I felt that, as a founder, I have to, do something, right? And I was all about like community building. I really wanted this community to stick together, to grow together, feel together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
your first foray into NFTs.
Yeah, so it was really just keeping everyone together. There will be good times, there will be bad times. I understood when I started, it was kind of like the bull run. Everyone was having a good time, but at the same time, we also wanted to be there for each other when it was the bad time. So when you want to do certain things like trades and everything, it was all just decided by them. And I didn't really want to make a decision for like the community. I just wanted them to just throw ideas, and then I'll just,
Okay.
If majority says, okay, let's go for it. So majority say, okay, let's start a project. I said, okay, let's do it. And then, that's about it. I don't really have like a plan thing, because it was really from the start community. We started the community before we did a project, which is unlike a lot of projects where they do a project first and then
they build the community.
And that's much healthier though. Like that's so much healthier,
Yes.
because at the heart of NFTs, there's always going to be community actually,
Yes.
right? At the end of the day, an NFT is a membership into a place, right? So
Yes.
the community is valuing what you've built together as a community, worthy enough to say, okay, well, let's have an NFT around it, and let people come into it and kind of experience it to be to keep it like small, tight knit, and collaborative. I also think like it's amazing because like in a very indirect way, your community voted you immediately as the leader and the representative of the implementer of the DAO, because they said, let's build a DAO around Tammy Tay. And I think that's super, super cool, because it's essentially, again, like a very pure implementation of a DAO in that sense.
So I was looking at your roadmap earlier, right? And I guess Tammy Tay Treasures is called that because it's supposed to be a treasury,
Yeah.
right? So it's sort of like, it's a collective that votes on, what do you guys actually do? Like, what is the treasury?
So it's just what to buy, like what NFT we feel is undervalued, what we think we can flip.
Okay.
This could also mean that we could buy into other communities who have similar roadmaps and do partnerships, collaborations, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need a wallet, because I don't want let's say somebody wants to airdrop me something, I don't want them to airdrop to me.
Your wallet, okay.
Because it's my community.
Yeah.
So, if they want to airdrop us something, or want us to be part of their community, they will airdrop to this community wallet.
Okay, so then that is one wallet that is shared by everybody.
Shared by everyone.
Okay.
That is actually the DAO's wallet.
The DAO's wallet. Okay, and talking about this, we were chatting about this before we started the podcast, right? Is that a multi-sig wallet that you were talking about? Like how does that?
Yeah, so conceptually, it you can call it a multi-signature wallet. The idea is that there would be multiple people, especially for like something like a DAO potentially, that have access to the wallet, and the idea is that you have multiple people that sign transactions for that wallet. In other words, there are multiple people that have to approve anything that goes out of that wallet, or any action that's done with that wallet. Essentially, when you're building a DAO, multi-signatories are. It's very difficult to build it past like 5 or 10 people, right? For a multi-signatory wallet, usually you only have 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
And so actually, what happens is that the DAO elects a few members. It really depends on the DAO size as well. So some DAOs could literally just have one person that they really trust to be the kind of the warden, the custodian of the wallet. And some DAOs will vote, again, similar to how they vote who the implementer is of everything. They vote as to who are the custodians of that wallet, and those are the people that become the approvers and have to all kind of agree on whenever anything happens with that wallet that they sign the transactions.
Yes, so we were talking about the multi-signature wallet and then talking about DAOs, right? Like, speaking about DAOs from a perspective of it being an organization, sort of like a company, right? Like, obviously, like a company, there is a structure in terms of who does what, right? Who is then set forth by the DAO to have certain responsibilities. I think a question that a lot of people would ask is, how do people get paid? Do you work for the DAO? Do you get paid? What is the structure? Is there an employment contract? How does that then work?
For myself, we're really small.
Okay.
So from the start, I really said that, everyone in my team, we don't really get paid because it's really small. It's a small project. We don't want to take out anything from
Small in terms of like...
the numbers, and our treasury is small.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't really...
The amount of people who work on the treasury?
Actually the holders. So we have only about maybe 200 plus holders.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a really small group, and we are a close group. What we really want to focus on is really just trying to grow this treasury, so we all don't get paid, but we do make money in this space by following certain alphas that are provided to us by the community members.
Okay.
So that's how we make money. We don't take out the money from the treasury. We actually earn our money through like the alphas that we receive.
Yeah.
So
you do your own trades on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't earn from my DAO or my company at all. It is really just for fun kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that sense, then the DAO, the treasury, is then used for a collective to then invest into certain things, right?
Yes.
Is there a payout structure? Like,
How do people know if they're making money? Like, I'm...
You can implement one for sure, but
Yes.
it has to get to a certain size.
Okay.
But you can quite easily implement one for it. It depends on how you like structuring the wallet as well. Some wallets are sort of they become treasuries, right, where they're holding assets, and so like dividing an NFT is pretty difficult, right?
Yeah.
Like you're holding like one Bored Ape.
Yeah. Do I then
And,
own like 3 pixels of this Bored Ape?
Do you own like 3? That's called NFT fractionalization, and it's
Okay.
it's something that's like been a topic of discussion as to how that works, and,
Okay.
and how you implement that.
Yeah.
There are implementations of it, but they're not quite there yet, I would say.
Okay.
Like it's still quite early. Also, lots of things to do with how the government perceives it as a security the moment that you start
Yeah.
fractionalizing it, but that's a whole different topic.
Okay.
But if the Treasury wallet is a trading wallet where it is also, you're buying an asset and then you're selling it, you can then say, okay, cool, because all the holders in your DAO, Tammy, all the holders have equal voting power. Is that right? Or-
Some have more because they actually purchase more.
right. Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Okay.
some have more because they put in more money,
Yeah,
right? And then some have lesser.
Right. So
Yeah.
based on their buy-in and based on the sort of the stake that they have, you can then essentially pay out dividends on the profits of when the DAO decides to buy and then the DAO decides to sell, right? So let's say you bought a project at $5,000 and then that project goes up in value and you sell it at, like the DAO says, yep, let's sell it, and it's sell at $15,000, you make $10,000 profit. You divide that according to the percentages
Everyone's
of the stake.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say everyone sort of buys in at a different value or they put in a different amount, do they do that through buying the NFTs or like how does that?
Through minting the NFT.
Through minting the
so
NFTs.
everyone minted the NFT at maybe 0.1. So
Okay.
that's how much they put into the treasury.
Yeah.
And of course, the only way the treasury will grow is of course through secondary sales.
Okay,
and everything.
okay, yeah.
But that will be slower
Okay.
as compared to the mint. So
Yeah.
we are really focusing on this initial capital that we got.
Okay.
And then, hopefully growing that.
Yeah.
So in that sense then if I bought 3, then I would then have a bigger stake,
Yeah.
right? But what I'm curious about is if then it goes through the secondary market and if I own 3 and I sold all 3 to say Zeppy for example, does he then own the same amount of stake
Yeah.
even if he's paid a higher value for it? So then his buying would have been higher because of the value of what it's become now.
Yes, so but that really means that the person who minted initially
Yeah.
didn't have the same conviction to the project.
Yeah.
So he's letting go
Okay.
and he doesn't deserve the payout
Doesn't
when
deserve it.
we
Wow,
actually
okay.
when we actually
Those are fighting words, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like and the other side of that as well is like if you it's your NFTs, right? So if you sell them to me at
Yeah.
a higher price, you're the one that's getting the profit at
Right.
the end of the day. You've made a decision at that
Yeah.
point, and you're exercising your digital sovereignty at that point as well,
Yeah.
right? You've made the decision that being part of the DAO for you is not as valuable. But I've also made the decision, if I'm buying at a higher price, that being part of Tammy's DAO is more valuable
Yeah.
than the price I'm paying.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I would ever do this transaction, right? So in that sense, they're buying into an ecosystem where they think, yes, actually, you know what, the rewards that I'm going to get are higher. And yes, because they've bought in at a later point in time, they've basically waited for the DAO to prove itself. They've taken a step back. They weren't the early supporters.
Yeah.
And it's just like Kickstarter, right? Like the early supporters get the biggest benefits,
Yeah.
right? And that's so true for NFTs as well. It's the same concept.
Okay. Your DAO is considered is it considered SocialFi?
No.
No. Okay. Sorry. For some reason in my head I thought it was SocialFi.
Yeah, because I'm an influencer, right? So
Yeah,
everyone
so-
who's entering.
Right. I'm sure people ask you this question a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not. So, I will be part of a few projects doing SocialFi because I see a lot of people from Web 2 wanting to go into Web 3, and a lot of these influencers in Web 2, they feel that they are not making enough money in Web 2, so they're trying to go on to Web 3. So
Okay.
there are more and more SocialFi companies coming up, and people automatically assume that I am doing a SocialFi project
Okay.
because I am an influencer in Web
Yeah.
2. But I entered the space not wanting to be an influencer in Web3, but actually to learn about NFTs, to learn about, the whole blockchain
Yeah.
ecosystem and what NFTs can do.
So what would the category of your project fall under?
Community?
It would be a community project.
Yeah,
It would be a
I guess.
community project, yeah, for sure. Like, there's the largest proportion of all the NFT projects out there, I would say, are either community or
GameFi.
BAYC is a community project, right?
That's a community project,
Okay,
yeah.
I see. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Yeah. So again, you could make an NFT and you could be like, this is your NFT. You make 100 NFTs available for minting, and you say, guys, you are more than welcome to pay $100 for each of these, and by owning one, you're part of my community, and people would pay that if they valued being part of your community, depending on what you offer, so communities have a different, like all communities have different advantages to them or assets to them. Some communities are just like communities that share a lot of trading tips between each other and a lot of sort of like what we call alpha in the space, and they are called alpha groups, but they're just communities at the end of the day that just like to share a lot of investment opportunities basically to each other, and their buy-in is usually really high depending on how successful they are, or really low if they're not very successful. A very famous one is Gary V's community, right? He sold his when he sold his community, and VFriends is skyrocketed in the price because he said, you're going to be part of my community, you'll have direct access to me, but also you'll get yearly access to VCon, which is his yearly conference. And so the price that he sold it at, it skyrocketed from that price because it became because the assets, the advantages of being, the perks of being part of that community, where people started valuing them so much more. And that's also another really beautiful thing about NFTs, is they're valued at exactly how much people value being part of your community. If they don't value being part of your community, the price of them goes down. But if they really value being part of your community, then it's almost like the person who's buying into your community is a shareholder in your community, right? Because their conviction in your community, if the price goes up because people want more into it, and there's a limited supply obviously, then their price goes up, and they are benefiting from that because they, at any point in time, they could have bought two, for instance, if they're really convinced, and hold one and then just wait for the price, because they know that your community is going to become more valuable over time, and then sell that next one to the next person. And likewise, if someone thinks to themselves, you know what, I don't want to be part of that community anymore, they can just sell it to the next person.
So what would an ideal size be for, you talk about your project being small, your community being small, what would an ideal size be?
For Singapore, I think it's a comfortable size.
Okay.
Yeah.
Currently.
Okay. Anything above 1,000, I feel that it's a lot for Singapore, because it will be very difficult to communicate with 1,000 people and actually have 1,000 people agree with what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get the message across also.
Okay.
I feel like the smaller it is, you get closer to the people much easier.
Yeah.
You can actually hang out with them in smaller groups, have dinners. But if you have 1,000 people, how am I supposed to get dinner with 1,000 people?
Okay.
And it's a few hundred, each event I meet 100 people, 50 people, and then that's how we really get together.
Okay.
And it's 1,000, I feel that it's a lot. Based on my project, it's a lot. So I don't need that many members.
But that is also a very good point, right? That if you have too many people in a DAO, does then decision making become really hard?
Yeah, the big DAOs suffer from this massively because you have many different people with many different interests in the DAO, and the bigger it is, the more it suffers from this potential scalability problem, I would almost say, right? But going back to your point, it completely depends on what you're trying to run, right? So for a community like yourself, which is focused on
in real life
local events in Singapore, and all the holders are Singaporean, right? That you're able to create this super tight knit community that's able to kind of interact with each other. Then there are communities that are massive, global, that's completely global, right? As members spread all over the world, and they have parties and gatherings all over the world. But do they really know each other across the world? Not really, right? Some people might meet up if they're visiting here and there, and they're like, hey, I'm in this town, and people be like, oh, cool, yeah, come over, and that happens a lot within different communities. But for DAOs specifically, it really depends, because if it's a real life sort of implementation of utility, that becomes harder and harder the bigger it is. But also, when you talk about creating let's say you want to build a game, and you say we're going to build the game through a DAO, then and 10,000 people get to have a vote in that game, then all of a sudden there's like a lot of voices that are trying to implement very, very different things. But the idea is that the majority, like, you can also implement percentages within a DAO. So it doesn't have to be that 51% majority vote passes.
Yeah.
It could be that you say 70%, and that's actually quite common. So you could say 70% threshold for a majority vote, because 51% is too polarizing. I think that us British people know that quite a lot about that. So not going to go into that, but the idea that
That's a whole other podcast.
that is part two. But yeah, the idea that you can you need to have a majority vote before anything is implemented, and then some DAOs also have sort of this idea that they can vote on certain things, whereas like the direction of the game might be better to be a little bit more centralized by the implementers again, right? So it's like, hey, we want to build, if the people are building like let's say, I don't know, a racing game, and all of a sudden the DAO people, like the people in the DAO will say, actually, you know what, we think it should be a different type of game, then maybe you need higher thresholds for that vote to pass, because of like the shift that would be required. So maybe you say to yourself, actually, you know what, you voted into a racing game, that's the DAO that you're buying into, so we're going to stick with a racing game, but we can vote maybe on smaller things, like how the cars should function, what kind of like vehicles we should have, or a racing track. Like, so you can like you can basically frame and parameterize the voting spectrum, the proposal spectrum. Rather. Yeah.
So would you ever go global?
Okay, I don't think that I will have international holders. I really want it to be Singaporean holders only. However, I do want my name to go global. Why? Because I want to be able to bring this other communities entering Singapore. They have to know me, so I can organize events for them here. So I see a lot of communities say the founders are based in maybe UK, US, whenever they want to come to Singapore. Because funny thing is, Singaporeans, there are a lot of Singaporeans who are NFT collectors, and they are part of this, say, Doodles. If I do meet the Doodles people, I do want them to come to Singapore to hold an event and have me be the one holding the event. Why? Because I'm well connected in the space, and I know other like events planners in Singapore. I work very closely with them. And so I do need to be known globally.
So in that sense, you sort of become the fixer, or
the gateway into
the gateway into Singapore, right?
Which is amazing. I think one of the things that we were talking about this like last time for Unfiltered as well, like because you're going to be helping us with the podcasts and sort of, we wanted to create like with Unfiltered, we wanted to create like a real global outreach, right? And working with people from sort of all over the world to do that, like we realized that the best way to educate people is actually like Unfiltered currently is based where? It's based on like it's sort of in a Discord server on Twitter, and actually a lot of the people that have already come into NFTs already have exposure to those areas, and so they're the ones that have probably been educated a lot more in the space, or have already got a lot more experience. And we're trying to create content for everyone. But trying to target people in the Web2 space, or people who are just about to come into the NFT space, that's the really challenging part. And so that's where we want to like really make sure that we're partnering with Tammy Tay, for instance, on being able to reach out to those people, be able to bring them, but in return, like through our connections and through the networks that we have, because we get to talk to a lot of different projects, and because all of them are super passionate about the idea of educating their holders, educating the space in general. So we make a lot of alliances in that regard, and have a lot of allies in the space. We can connect the Web3 people back to the Web2 people, but we also in turn get to help educate and bring the Web2 people into the space, right? We want to make sure that we can become the bridge for people in the Web2 space to come back into the Web3 space in a safe way, so that they're not getting rugged and they're not like getting knocked about, basically.
So I do want to talk about the collaboration that you guys are then working on right now, right? But before we get there, I'm just gonna sort of segue a little bit into like we talk a little bit about political ideologies, right? Like you talk about communities coming from abroad and having to do stuff in Singapore and coming through you. Do you feel like a little bit of a controversial question, okay? Don't throw the Coke can at me. Do you feel like that becomes somewhat like gatekeeping the communities in Singapore, and then does that then affect, the political ideology of decentralization within the space?
Not really. Okay, so the thing is so it's really about so when
It's okay, you're good.
okay, so when communities, it's more like when communities come into Singapore, they're kind of clueless.
Okay.
So what can they do in Singapore?
Yeah.
The event space, what are the laws in Singapore? So being a Singaporean community, right away we can answer their questions.
Okay.
So we want to be like a friendly Singaporean community,
Okay, okay.
helping all these international people who want to come into Singapore and are clueless, what can you do in Singapore? So we give them this information, and also because of the connections that I have, I'm able to book up certain places at a discount, and because of my community, we are able to get certain discounts at certain places because we have visited those places and supported them. And within our community, we have community members who are business owners as well, so they can give really attractive discounts, like even someone who owns a spa. So this is very good. Like when they own a spa or a hotel, when we have international people coming in, they can actually get a discounted rate for spas and hotels.
Like group rates and stuff.
Yeah. So that's something that I see, I'm not blocking, I'm actually helping them.
Yeah. So you're easing them into the community instead of, trying to get them to go through you.
Yeah.
It's not really going through you. They're basically asking you for help, right? In a sense, and you're providing that sort of help to them. Okay, cool. Okay, so now let's talk about the collaboration that you guys are doing, right? Which is kind of why we're here, right? So Unfiltered, and what do you call yourself?
I just call it
TT Treasures? Or
I
just
just call it
TTT? Sorry,
TTT.
okay. Because
I'm going around telling everyone TT Treasures, right? And I don't know if that's there's a.
I really, really regretted not having like proper name.
Okay.
Like I say, it's for fun, right?
Yeah.
So now we end up calling ourselves TTT.
Okay.
Yeah.
TTT. All right. I mean, it could stand for a bunch of different things as well.
So I say it's
okay.
up to you to decide like what you want to call it.
Very free flowing.
Okay, so TTT and Unfiltered. What are you guys doing together?
So there's going to be it's pretty interesting, because the first thing that we wanted to do is first of all, we're still sort of in the early stages of working with different projects and trying to provide them with our education and what we're doing. So one of the first things that we did was, and when we talked to Tammy, like it was really obvious, like you were saying in the start, you're really passionate about educating and bringing people into the space and just making sure that as a community you can grow and also fail in a safe way together. I really love that so much, like when we were talking about that. So one of the first things that we wanted to do is we have an analysis feed that we provide, where we provide sort of daily news in the space, reports, analysis on different projects that are coming out, and it's sort of just a way to keep you informed. But we also break it down in a way that helps you understand how the analysts that we have break it down and how we're looking at projects ourselves. So we're able to provide that to TTD as a kind of directly an implementation into their community, so that they're able to benefit from that. But going forward, we really wanted to create a lot of very different types of content. So we're looking to not just provide analysis, but also create podcasts, articles, videos, coaching sessions, masterclasses, and having Tammy on board to help with that, like to be able to facilitate like those discussions, and maybe having you on like as a host for the podcast. We were talking about doing lots of different collaborations there, and maybe bringing different people from the space as well. Like one of the things I absolutely love, like I've been here for a few days now in Singapore, and it's just everyone is so well connected as it probably, because I came straight in and Tammy's just been introducing us to lots of people, but being able to bring those
Everyone
different
well connected, it's just Tammy is well connected.
It's just Tammy well connected. It's just got the world of connections here and networks, but being able to bring those different project founders on podcasts, for instance, just like this, and or doing masterclasses with them and coaching sessions with them, and being able to facilitate that, I think that is huge. Because right now, when you learned how to build a project and things like that, like no one taught you how to build a project, right? And you just kind of like stumble your way through, and that's the case for all the projects out there right now. Like very, very seldom do you have proper backing to build a project from like the people that did projects before you. Like we're talking month here at this point, right? So it's still very, very new space. And so what we really want to make sure is like what we want to try to do is bring these different individuals in the space, project founders, collaboration managers, community managers, people that help build projects and put projects together, the developers that build the actual like NFTs themselves, and the artists. We want to showcase them, and we want to help them like kind of endorse them and kind of help them share their learnings back to the communities, back to the people that are trying to get into the space. But like I was saying, we don't just want to get everyone that's only coming into the space. We also want to get we want to help people that want to become more involved in the space. Like I did a coaching session the other day which was really popular. It was called like how to go full-time in NFTs. And people really enjoyed that, because right now there isn't a book on how to do that. And one of the things that I really believe in is being able to pay that back, and being able to sort of like, from my learnings and the learnings of like the people that I know and have talked to in the space, be able to collate that and be able to share that back. But I can also only teach from my experience and what I know. So I'm not going to teach every subject, right? I don't know how to become like a collaboration manager, because I was never head of collaborations, which is a huge role within the NFT space. So why don't we get the most talented collaboration managers to come and teach that? And that
so it's like if you
subject.
teach history, you teach history.
Exactly.
You teach physics, you teach physics. Okay.
Exactly that. So being able to bring all those different people together, and whether it be them teaching, or if they don't want to like teach, because not everyone wants to like be on front of a camera or teach in a voice chat, at least help us write the curriculum on it, because our long-term vision is in creating sort of lesson plans and curriculums that are able to really help people learn how to work in this space, and then take them through that curriculum, the lesson plans, record it, create master classes, and really produce them, and then be able to take people through them. And at the end they graduate. Well, through all these wonderful connections, guess what we can do? We can also place them in different projects, right? And really be there for them. So like really take them from step one, right at the gate, from where to, and like be the one-stop shop.
So it's really like a university model, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
You could content hub and university sort of all in one. Like create engaging content, and then educate them and take them all the way through. So
on Tammy's platform, you guys will then come in through a Discord, or like how does this collaboration work? Like
for myself, like I got a bot that gets their feed on my Discord for my holders only, and then they have their own platform for the education part of it.
Yeah.
So someone said something about TT Talks.
Yeah.
So what is TT Talks?
TT Talks was actually the TTT Discord.
Oh, okay. So you have a name for your Discord, and then you have a name for your Treasury. Okay.
So it's just,
sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, calling my NFT TT Talks would be weird.
Yeah. Okay.
So we figured that like, okay, we're just going to call it Treasures. We just wanted to still keep the TTT.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, like,
so it's not something new.
I was just going to say, like, to any Filipino listeners, there's a meaning for TT. And we're just
getting very specific.
We're just gonna look at the comments afterwards. We'll just see what they say.
Okay, let's see if we have any Filipino listeners. Please tell us what TT.
So
is that what it is?
Yeah, carry on.
So,
okay.
Yeah. And no, so the thing is, right, I really don't know, like, so there's, within the Discord, we always make jokes, like, what TTT is. Like, everyone who comes in asks what is TTT.
Yeah.
And then we have different people, like, different community members just coming up with their own. But it's okay, like, I don't need, like I said, it's not like a brand. But the funny thing is, when I look at the logo, it looks like a bridge.
Oh, you're right. And sorry, I have to draw it out on the table to sort of imagine it.
And that is exactly what I want to be in this space.
Oh, that's very clever.
So now I think about it.
Good story.
Okay, I'll just call it TTT then. It looks like
okay. Yeah, it does.
Right?
Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah. So now I think about it. Okay, I'm just going to keep it as TTT, and people ask me why, I'm just going to say it's a bridge. But this only came to me last month when so many people asked me what TTT was.
Okay.
And then
This is like when I do a tattoo, then people ask me what does it mean, then I have to think up a meaning.
Yeah.
It represents strength or some shit, right?
Exactly. Like people ask me all my tattoos, what does
Yeah.
this mean? Why do you do this? So yeah, same thing. People ask me what is TTT. So I mean, like, I let the community members do it, but then I look at TTT and then I look at it more. Like the more I look at it,
Yeah.
and then I was discussing with my artist. The artist is also a community member, and he did this for like fun, and he was doing the logos and everything. The more I look at it, the more I was like, wait a minute, it looks like a bridge.
Did you ask him whether that was intentional?
No. At first, right, when they did the logo,
Yeah.
they were like, this looks like MBS.
It looks like MBS.
So I was like, no. And I was thinking, like, what does it look like? Then I was like, this looks like a bridge. No, wait. So this is a bridge. We are a bridge. So then, yeah. So now I know. Now you know.
And that's why I think that's why we're partnering, right? Because we're also just a bridge into the space. So yeah, we're just all just trying to bring people into the space in the safest way possible, in the best way possible. Because again, there's a lot of like misconceptions about the NFT space, but there's also a lot of dangers to it. And it sure helps when you have someone who's already been, who's already walked that path.
Yeah,
help
someone's
you
already
across.
been rugged,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Actually, I think we're coming to the end of our show because otherwise this would be a feature film if we go any longer. But before we end, would you like to get you guys to plug yourselves? What's your Twitter?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter under Zeppy_ETH, and also find the Unfiltered Twitter link from there and Unfiltered NFT. We're planning to launch quite soon to the public. We currently have a closed Discord, but if you follow the Unfiltered Twitter, we send out a few invite links every day, and it's a great chance to just be part of the community. Get some of the education that we're talking about. We've made all of the education available. The moment that you're in the Discord, you get it. And so
you have to get invited into the Discord.
So it's sort of almost like a raffle. Like the invite links go up on Twitter, about 5 a day, and you're able to grab it. We are going to open it a little bit more slowly but surely.
Okay. And Tammy, please plug yourself.
So I'm mostly on Instagram. So it's also Fickle on Instagram, and same for Twitter, also Fickle. And then for Twitter, it's for TTT, it's just TTT DAO.
Okay, so TTT DAO on Twitter, you have a Discord.
TT Talks.
Oh, okay, TT Talk. Sorry, we did mention it just now. My apologies. So anybody can just join your Discord.
Yeah, for mine, it's open for all.
Okay.
Well, the alphas and of course the unfiltered information will only be for my holders only.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys want to get alphas, which is top-notch information, right?
Top notch.
Is it the best way to describe it?
It's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah, alpha is like information that you wouldn't like necessarily be aware of. But yeah, it's people doing lots of research and then just going, okay, this is a potential opportunity, and this is a potential buy. Always do your own research, and this is something that we also educate a lot within the server. We try to really educate people.
Yeah.
And again, when we fully launch, because right now it's obviously it's still in the pre-stage, but when we fully launch, we'll have a way for everyone to join, everyone to be able to subscribe to it as well, and kind of learn different things like how to do your own research, right? How to engage with alpha as well. So yeah, come check it out.
Okay, so if you want alphas, I don't know whatever you call it, alpha,
Yeah.
buy a TTT NFT and join the Discord, and then you have all the information that you need from Unfiltered, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks guys so much for coming by. Thank you
So much.
so much.
Thanks so much for having us. Thank you.
All right, cheers.